Welcome, it's Don, the auction professor here. This is going to be our... You hear it now? Go ahead and push it back into the
clock?
Clock, yeah. No, just go ahead and flip right back to me. Can you hear me? We're trying to get our sound featured here. If somebody can pop me a note if they can hear me. Yes, you can. Okay, I've got my worker over here, Ian's here, and we don't have sound on our end, so I'm assuming that for some reason it is just coming out. Hopefully we are not lagging behind. Does the sound match the actual video, I hope? If somebody can... So I am in sync. Okay, from this end, we're just trying to figure this out. I played with it all day today with OBS. We're trying to get title and do some other things. I had some questions on doing some live, like flipping through big lots of things, trying to decide on, you know, what to look for and things like that, which I will be doing. But I'd like to get the video sync showing up correctly on our side so I'm not lagging behind. I'm about 3 or 4 seconds behind than what I can actually see on my screen. So you're seeing what happened 3 seconds ago. But as long as you guys can hear me and see me, I welcome you to the show. We are investing in some other things. Video will get better. I do have a Brio now. It is on, and that's what we are using. We're still working on the settings. I am in an area where my actual bandwidth isn't very good, and there is nothing offered whatsoever for speed of service. It's through AT&T. They're terrible, so my speed's just awful out here. So anyway, we're going to be playing around with the settings. I've got somebody coming over this week, so yeah, I can't help the lighting issues in here that I can see. Hopefully that's maybe a little better. We'll get the lighting down. This isn't, as I said, this is a new webcam, so hopefully we're coming through okay at this point now. Hopefully everybody can see and hear everything together. I'm glad it's at least synced. I wanted to start off today with a few things that were brought up about some of what I talk about and the things that I show. Everybody's not going to have the same experience as me. We have a store, Anchor Stores. We pay 5 cents or less for our listing. So when you first start out, you're obviously going to be paying more until you get move yourself up the ladder. At some point, you hopefully will get to an Anchor Store, and then your prices are going to come down. So if you're paying a lot more than we are for your actual listings, I've talked about this before. You really have to know your numbers for your store. You have to know what's going on in your store. You have to have daily totals, daily running figures, so that you know when you're going to hit like your break-even point. Most companies that I've ever worked for have a break-even point, and everything from that point on is gravy. I honestly would recommend everybody, if you don't have one, you don't know how much you're spending a month, you don't know, how much you have in the listings, to actually look that up, write it down, and keep track of that on a standard basis, because I'm getting lots of people saying that they just aren't aware of fees and things like that. Most of the fees are all laid out for you. I've done a couple videos on final value fees and the actual listing and store fees. Anything else above that are extra fees that they're going to charge you. Scheduling a listing ahead of time, that's a 10-cent fee. Adding buy it now options to like an auction, So that's an extra fee as well too. So they do vary by, you know, what your store level is and things like that. I don't think the scheduled listing fee is any different no matter what level you have. And I did talk too about returns. I just had a video on that. And a lot of people aren't aware that they're getting automatic returns because there's actually a radio button that's actually flagged in your return preferences. And if that's flagged, it's going to give you automatic returns. You can actually unflag that. Again, and I had somebody even after watching the video were unaware of that. Go back in and unflag that and then mark it so it says RMA, the radio button for that. And that's going to force eBay to send you a notice whenever somebody wants to do a return, no matter what it is. You will always get a notice from that point on, so you will not ever get a item just showing up or you didn't see the notice in the emails after it happened. That's a good thing you need to do. Don't be caught off guard with it. You still have to take the returns pretty much because that's the policy. Even if you state no returns on your item, if there is something wrong with the item, you still have to take it back. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it whatsoever. You're required to take that back if there's something wrong with it. So you can put no returns, no anything else in the listing as much as you want, and you're still going to be forced to take the item back. So anyway, I just wanted to address that. The biggest issue that I keep hearing is fees. People worried about the fees. They're getting more stuff up. You know, should they step to a store? I've laid it out for you in those videos. It literally shows you, you know, the points, the dollar amounts, how much you're going to pay for the stores. So you just need to know your actual numbers for your specific store. And when I'm talking about listing things and stuff, I pay 5 cents or less. Even if I'm over my 10,000 per store, it's only 5 cents extra to list any item. And I don't care if I have to spend hundreds of dollars to list items extra and above and beyond that first 10,000 I have per store, because I'm getting more back from those. And again, if you're not going to list enough, you're going to have, you know, less income in. But again, you got to remember that when you list more and you have a lower store level premium or whatever the case may be, you're paying more than I am. So I just want everybody to be aware of that. And one other thing I'd like to say, whatever results I have are based on me specifically. I can't guarantee you or promise anybody you're going to have increase in sales. Neither can anybody else on YouTube whatsoever. Everybody can have great success for themselves, but it doesn't always transfer over to somebody who's watching or listening or recommending options and stuff. You know, whatever I'm telling you that I do are honest to God, what I do, how I do it, you know, across the board. And this is the way we've done it since, you know, we pretty much started. Let me adjust this just a little bit there. Maybe that'll help with the lighting. But again, no, that's not. Okay, I think we're just going to leave it there. I'm sorry to be messing around with it. Again, we're going to have this all set up a little better on the next one here. I had Ian come in early. We were trying to get everything situated, and I just had some sound issues left and right on this. And then OBS was actually delayed so bad that, you know, we didn't get to go in and have a bunch of sit down and go over how to use everything correctly. So anyway, we still have a few settings to work on. Bear with me. I've got like the top of the line Brio that we're using now. It's supposed to be the best webcam. Low light and the whole works. It's supposed to do everything. Then obviously I have the Blue Yeti here, so you know we're trying to improve the quality of the show and add some other stuff in. Live show, I hope to be able to add in extra videos so you can see, like searching through, and if you've got comments while we're doing the searches and things like that, we'll be able to address them right there. So you'll get some feedback in on issues and things that were actually found. So I'll just bring in some stacks of items here in the real near future, because I had a lot of people ask this question. And I had a lot of people actually say that would be a good thing to do. So I'll probably dedicate, you know, towards the last half of it after we do questions, maybe on the next one. Or I'll do another live feed, maybe 2 1 week, just to show other people. So those of you who are interested in looking and trying to track down things and deciding on which cards are good, you'll see them just as I see them. And, you know, you'll be able to ask questions, I said. But anyway, hopefully that gets the basics out of there. Again, sales are up, so hopefully they're up for everybody else. You shouldn't be slow now. I've talked about, you know, broadening your scope of items that you have. I see a lot of other YouTubers now talking about it. There's nothing wrong with selling clothing. There's nothing wrong with selling books or video games or electronics or cell phones or whatever you want to sell. There's nothing wrong with selling any of that. The only thing I say is you need to broaden your scope. You need to have more than just a few things in your inventory. You need to be looking for more things than just clothing. Around here, I would be dead in the water if I was relying on clothing. There are only 4 decent thrift stores in the local area. Savers are gone. The rest aren't so good. So, you know, I don't have any options here for, you know, sourcing clothing. It's just not possible for me here. So anyway, hopefully that gives you some ideas on that. Let's see here who's on tonight. Again, I'm sorry, we're a little bit disoriented. It might take, you know, a little bit of time for me to get the hang of everything. I did practice. There was a few people who saw we went live earlier for just a few minutes, just a test run on some of the video here. As I said, there's a new trailer I'll have out. We'll have timing down better because this is a whole new program we're using. So, I decided to use it basically because YouTube's having major issues with their camera option where you can just click and go live from your webcam. It doesn't work. It's not working today. I even tested it earlier. So we have no other option at this point than to move to OBS. It's just going to take me time, you know. By next week, I've spent another whole day messing around with all the features. We'll get the bit rate down to the T. I'll fix the lag and the lighting, and we'll be good to go from there. So anyway, I've spent hours on this, probably 3 or 4 hours moving back and forth and clipping. We've addressed and moved laptops around and tried to make the room a little better. But you're going to see some more things coming out and some more opportunities for you to learn some other stuff. So welcome everybody tonight. Let me go up to the top and welcome everybody. The Randophiles, Annie, Steve Rose, Resale, Groovemaster Resale, Carol Hollis, Herrick Kimball, welcome everybody. Let's see, Romadiacs, if I pronounced that right, Kathy Steele, Sir Thrift-A-Lot, welcome everybody, Bill McCobb, Steve Hill, Iconic, Bellyfeld, oh, Germany, okay, that makes perfect sense, I'm sorry, Sudden Treasures, let's see here, Annie, of course, Sir Mixel, let's see, C, welcome, John Bender, Studio 1231, Steel Prop, let's see, hopefully I'm not missing anybody here, let's move down a little farther, Texas Hagler, welcome, Liberty for All, welcome, Facebook, it's the Auction Professor on Facebook as well. Let's see here. Thomas Lerzer. Again, I'm probably butchering a few of the names here. DJT and Maui Delights, which I'm assuming is from Hawaii. One place I haven't been. I've been in most other states in the Union, but now if we can get the mouse to work here now. We're going to move up to the keypad because it looks like my mouse is now having issues. Okay, let's see where we're at. Yes, we have sound now for those of you who saw it. Yeah, I thought I liked the old style film-wise, so that one seemed to be a good fit for me. I don't do what's flashy. I do what I personally like. My taste may not be to everybody's liking, but you know, this is me, so I don't fake it just for views or anything like that. So anyway. Let me move down here. Everybody has sound. I've got a lot of that in here. Yeah, now you're buffering. If you're in the car, I would probably imagine that would be the case. Thank you, Studio 1231. When you take an item back, who pays shipping? It depends on what the issue was. If they said they didn't need it anymore or didn't want it, they pay shipping. I've got my first return, and it's somebody who bought something, and now he says it doesn't fit his camera. There was no claim that it fits. I'm not going to argue it. I'll just take the item back. It's a timer for a Insta-Flash, so I'm just going to keep it. It's a shutter release, basically. So I'm just going to take it back, and I'll just resell it. I sell those all the time. You lose a few bucks if you do it that way. I could argue it, but then I'm risking feedback, so I'm just not going to worry about it. For the most part, I may not even take it back. I may just let him keep it. I don't know. It's not worth too much to have it shipped back. But anyway, again, it depends on how it was claimed as a return. If it's obviously defect, damaged, doesn't fit, something like that, chances are you're going to pay it if you've offered free returns on it. I offer free returns on everything. If they return it, though, and it's not in the exact same condition that they sent it to you in, you can actually deduct things from it, like, up to 50% of the item to cover the cost of what they did to the item. So, I'm sure a lot of people weren't aware that I actually had a comment in my last video about that. And again, you can deduct part of the fee when that happens. So you don't even have to take it back if they've done or altered the item at all. And eBay has sided with me in the past a while ago about that, so I know that is the case. I went back and actually read over the entire policy prior to making the return video, just to make sure there wasn't something I was missing. And there is nothing else I'm missing. You can actually deduct part of the item cost from what you pay them back, but you always risk getting a negative or a neutral feedback, so it's just not worth a couple bucks saving for me. I just take care of it. I'm just gonna return the item when it shows back up. I'll just return their money and not even worry about it. I'll even pay return shipping. I'm going to get some more money back out of it. So at this point, it's just not worth the hassle to make somebody upset about something, even if it was obviously their fault. Something not fitting on a camera when they weren't aware of what they needed in the first place isn't my fault. The item works fine. They stated it works fine. It's just not something that fits their camera. So I believe, too, when they've damaged the item, if eBay does side with you and steps in, that they can't leave feedback if eBay sides with you. But again, it's a big if on it. So again, I just refund them. I know people hate when I say this, but it's a cost of doing business across the board. So when you have something like this happen, it's just a cost of doing business. Every store deals with this. Walmart gets stuff, returned, or Kroger's, or wherever you go. JCPenney's, any of these places get stuff with tags ripped off or the package opened, where they can't sell it, the same way. It has to be sold as dented or damaged or used or something like that. And that's just the cost of doing business. Again, that's all that is for me. So I don't really worry about it. I just chalk it up to a few bucks here, a few bucks there lost. So anyway, hopefully that takes care of that. Let's see here. Welcome, Robert. Welcome, Sean John. Yes, you were number 50, and I do honestly remember that. You actually called that out to me, so that was surprising. Let's see, I bought 2 albums of Postcard at an auction just because of watching your channel. Hopefully you researched them and you knew you were going to get some money prior to purchasing them. If I'm at a live auction and I'm doing something, of course I live with my phone. My phone goes everywhere that I go, so if I need something, I can just search it at any point and look it up right there in the auction. I don't look it up in front of the item. I'll step back so people can't see what I'm doing. You're going to probably see some video of some of the auctions that I'm going to be going to, because again, my pickers are not picking up as much because garage sales up here are starting to slow down. We're going into winter. Usually this is the last month that we do garage sales, or anybody does them around here. You'll get some last minute ones in, but for the most part, once school starts in, garage sales in Ohio start to die off. Same with Michigan and area. It's getting cooler. It's down in the 50s in the morning now. Last night it was like 55, so temperature changes, and my habits and my picking places do change, as I said. So I'll get less pickers, and then I'll be actually going out myself more often. I usually do them on certain days of the week, and then the rest of it's listing. I'll probably do weekends at picking, and then just listing during the week. So, and again, Sundays right now I'm doing and setting up. I have a Patreon just about ready to go live, and I'll announce that in the next live show. And again, Halloween, you'll see me in full costume. Our family dresses up every year for Halloween. We all wear matching outfits that go together theme-wise. Last year we were a Clockwork Orange. The 4 of us were the 4 Droogs. So this year we're going to be something special this year too. So we're going to be fully decked out in costumes for my Halloween show. And not only that, but I'm going to be giving away original artwork that I've got time invested into, that actually are the originals for several of my postcards. I've shown them in I think 2 weeks ago my live feed, so I am going to be giving that away. And I'll probably, towards the end of the show, give away a postcard tonight too, one of my new ones, or maybe even a couple postcards to the same person. But I'll holler that out a little later here. So we do have things going on. I have talked to a antique mall, so as I've said before, I just wanted to make sure live feed and such forth were going out, and that we had better equipment before I go and do a live show, or do a live feed or anything else from on location. So you might see some live feed from an actual location, as long as we can work out the bandwidth with them too. So anyway, I'm going to be doing some other things. I'm going to do auction basics, so when you're going to an auction, you know what to expect, what to do, what to bring. Like auctions, a lot of the auctions, if you're going to a live auction, you want to bring boxes or bags. It's always good to bring somebody with you. Bring cash, otherwise you're spending 3% more depending on the auction. Most of them with charge card are going to charge you 3% more. And you know, you have to know that there's always a buyer's premium or buyer's commission. So if you spend $100, there's usually an extra $10, or it could be less depending on the auction. So anyways, just some details like that. And hopefully I'll be able to show you inside of an auction house. I do know somebody who owns one of the local ones around here. So, you know, there may be some of that to do. I don't know what the legality is yet, so I'm waiting on an answer from them. I don't know if you're allowed to broadcast live auctions with the people there. There might be some privacy issues that, you know, showing somebody who's bid or something. I don't know yet. So we're going to see what he says, and then we're going to go from there. If anybody has any questions, though, you can start shooting them out here. I don't want to get too far behind. I know I do talk, and I'm long-winded sometimes, so I don't want to miss any questions here. Let's see here. Welcome, Nancy. Do you think pricing high with BO like you suggest with collectibles will work in other categories? Carol, it depends on what categories you're talking about. Like if it's a record, I would never charge or list it as a starting at 3 times the price. Records, for the most part, are down unless there's something scarce. If there's something scarce, I go a little bit over, you know, $150, $200 over, depending on the value. Let's say I've got a $1,000 45. I'll probably put $1,250 to $1,450 on it. That way I have some leeway. And I've researched the item price a couple of times. I've researched it on PopPsych and eBay, and sometimes Discogs can have some of the rare ones on there too. And then Craig Moyers, he's another site. I think I've showed you some of the other sites. There's a couple rare soul sites from England, and that's mostly what the high dollar records I personally sell would be. I don't think I've sold anything over 1,000 that wasn't a soul record. Northern Soul, they're called. And type in Northern Soul on a comp search if you want to see some high numbers. Like Junior McCant, now his 45 goes for like $10,000, and there's other ones too. So you know, you've just got to be on the ball on this. That's why I say PopPsych is the best thing for looking up records. If those of you are into records, LPs are down. 45. The highest category in records are 78s. That's what we sell the most of. Second is 45s. We don't sell as many, but we sell them for more money. And then LPs are down at the bottom. LPs are going down just because of the rehash and the remastered editions that are being pressed and released all the time. So anyway, hopefully that gives you some ideas. It just depends on the area. I would never high price clothing. I would never high price books or video games or electronics. You're not going to get anywhere with them. With collectibles, the people don't look up the item like they would. Like, everybody knows what an iPhone costs. So if you overprice an iPhone, you're not going to sell it. No one knows what a scarce trade card or postcard would go for. So if you put $400 on a postcard and there's none others up, there's no comps, there's nothing anywhere, you can't even find one on Google, $400 is not a crazy price. I would have priced it by other cards from that same city, from the same time frame, and the same type. So if there's other cards from the city of this $400 card that I put up, and they're similar images, similar time frame, similar type, if they're both real picture postcards, I'll price them accordingly, and I'll increase the price a step-fold over, especially if it's a one-of-a-kind that you can see. Like I sold a Lake Tahoe one not too long ago for $400. You know, and that was over and above what I expected to get for the card, but it sold at that. I sold some trade cards the other day. I put some insane price on them. One of them I put $1,250 on, knowing that the last highest dollar one in that range only went for $780 something. I sold it for $950. So, you know, I sold it for almost $200 over and above what any cards in that category went for, making mine the #1 highest priced printer's card in the trade card section across the board for as long as eBay had been tracking it. So, you know, people say, you know, it's crazy to do the higher prices. It works on collectibles because most people don't know what the collectibles are worth, and perceived value shows that they say, hey, he must know what he's doing. He must know why he priced it that way. So that's how I look at it, and it always works. You know, at least for us it does. We you know, there's other factors in how we price because we've got the feedback. We've got a big store. We've got a ton of merchandise. And, you know, if it's a trade card and I've priced it 3 times, most of my trade cards are priced that way. So it doesn't look odd, like one card really high price and the rest really low. So, you know, it's a whole scheme. It's a scheme of pricing it, not like a swindle scheme, but a setup scheme for that category. So each category, I look at it at a different basis. Postcards, generally, I'll probably put double on it. again, not everything goes 3 times. Some postcards, if they're rare, they'll always go 3 times what I expect to get out of it, just because you still sell them at that price. You know, and people think it's crazy, but when you list something like just a 50s Christmas card and it sells for $40 because of the image on it, you know, you'll see what I mean. You know, and that happens a lot. I've got a lot of people in my Facebook group who have said things similarly or posted photos and images of things that they sold. Again, it takes time. If you've been selling clothing for a long time and you have 1,000 pieces of clothing up and you only have, say, 50 pieces of collectibles, of course you're not going to sell very many collectibles, and you're still going to outsell collectibles and clothing even when it's slow, because there's more of the clothing items up. If you'd had equal parts of clothing and equal parts of collectibles up in your store, it's probably going to be equal. Maybe you might sell more in collectibles, possibly, depending on, you know, what you have. But again, research is the key. So if you're not researching the items and you don't really know the value on them, you know, you're going to be skunking yourself when it comes time to make the money on it. So, you know, just be cautious in what you're doing. Research it the best way you can. You know, I've told people you're welcome to post images in the Facebook group. You know, I try to do what I can on pricing them and looking at what's up. I don't have as much time as I did when I first started this, so, you know, I get tons of comments now. We're heading for our $250,000 views, so I'll be hitting 250,000 views, lifetime views for my videos real soon here, and I'll probably give something away. So, I mean, my viewing and my interaction with my subscribers and things has really increased here, and then Facebook-wise and too. So, and again, as I said, we'll have a Patreon group coming up. I've already done the videos. I've already done all the categories or the rates. So there's going to be like a basic version where you can, you know, donate $1 or something, and then to work your way up. My listing on what videos cover what is actually going to be in my Patreon. I've been advised by everybody that's what you should do as an extra service. I don't know all the aspects on doing YouTube. I don't know all the aspects on Patreon. This is all new. Again, I am a seller, a reseller online more than anything else. That's like 95% of my business. You know, I still have not seen a dime from anything that I've done on YouTube or anywhere else, any of the other things that I do on social media. So, you know, I'm not really rushing to get anything out there. So anyway, I don't do Instagram or Twitter or anything like that. I had several people ask that. I've also had several people ask on, you know, appearing on their channel. Quite a few people. There's like a dozen or so I've had ask now. And I have not decided to do any of those as of right now. My time's limited. I want to protect my personal channel, I guess, from, you know, flooding from other things or muddying up the waters. Nothing against any of those folks who have asked or anything. There's nothing wrong with their channel. I think we're in a different line of YouTube viewers, and I don't know how much it's going to help talking about other people's businesses in the way they are doing it anyway. You know, so anyway, at this point, we're just going to stick to doing our own videos here, at least for a little while. You're welcome to leave comments underneath the video here, and you know, if you think, you know, otherwise. Always open for feedback on anything that we do here. We do try to give the most information we can. And that's literally all I worry about. So, you know, you see some of the quality isn't as good as some other channels, but we are working on it. Information is my #1 goal. So, you know, I don't really care about the rest of it. You know, as long as people are getting something out of it. I'd hate to be doing a bunch of videos and just, you know, no one enjoying it, or it's just not the information that's going to help them. So everything I've shown or discussed in here is stuff that we actually do, we actually buy, we actually sell. You know, there's no sense in me wasting my time showing you something that I don't do. And just one last thing before I look back at some more questions. I do get a lot of questions and a lot of comments, and a lot of people give me feedback on things. And the biggest thing I can say on doing reselling, it is not easy whatsoever. It's just not an easy thing to do. You've got to put a lot of work into it, and if you don't like what you do, and you don't like doing this, or you don't like what you're selling, chances are you're not going to be very successful, because you're just going to get bogged down with, you know, disliking what you're doing. So, you know, find something that makes you money and that you're happy with. Doing eBay is not for everybody. Doing Amazon is not for everybody, you know. There's different things you can do. Some people might just want to do dropship. And you see, I do dropship. I do retail arbitrage. I do more retail arbitrage than anything else. If you're not aware what that is, that's basically buying discounted items at retail stores and then flipping them online. You buy them in quantity. You can do it on Amazon as well too. You know, I can list stuff before I've even left the store when I'm buying stuff for retail arbitrage. So sometimes before I've even walked out of a store, I've already sold something that I just got in the cart before I even paid for it. So, you know, and that does happen, believe it or not, especially when you're getting closer to Christmas and you're lucky enough to find out the hot items and what really is selling at the time. You know, just an FYI. So there are things that you can do that aren't tied down with collectibles or aren't tied down with clothing. You know, drop shipping though is a nightmare these days. I really think they're going to cut it off. You're not going to be able to do it like you did before. There's a lot of complaints. A lot of the businesses are getting upset and in copyright infringements when you steal their photos and you steal their titles, you steal their descriptions. That's against eBay's policy to use someone else's photos. It's against Amazon's policy as well. Same with Walmart. So anyway, and again, no disrespect to anybody who does drop shipping. I've had 3 or 4 people in the last 2 weeks, though, tell me they sunk their whole eBay feedback and now are in the hole because they did drop shipping and took one of these people's words on, you know, drop shipping and all. Again, make sure if you're taking, you know, online courses or something like that, that you understand the risks. You understand that, you know, all these people may not be there to help you. They may be there to earn money by selling you a course. You know, so just keep that in mind. You know, cover yourself, be safe, research everything. Even, you know, these courses that, you know, you might pay $1,000 for to learn how to do something you could learn on your own. So anyway, let's move on to some questions here, if YouTube will be right. Let me think here. Where are we? Yeah, the totes are good, John Jones. There's 2 different kinds now. I switched over to these ones with rounded. I know that they've got the square ones. Let me just show you. These square ones here, a lot of people like these, the Rubbermaid ones. But personally with the shelving, these are standardized shelving. Let's not shake the table. But these are standardized shelving, and you can fit more on them if you get the rounded ones. You can actually fit a whole nother row of these tubs on it, or these totes on it, if you get the rounded ones. And a postcard will fit in here without doing any damage to it. I usually put stiffener cards in the front and the back of it, so none of the cards are touching the fronts or the backs of the actual tote either. So anyway, hopefully that, you know, touches on that a little bit. Let's see. Hello, Cindy, if I didn't say hi. Do you ever have a time you get lazy and don't feel like posting, Sean John? There are times I don't feel like doing it, yes, but I always do it anyway. I just cram on some real loud music or put the headphones on. You know, I had the Beastie Boys on. I listened to my Adidas today, if you know what that is. I'm old school. I had a pair of Adidas with no shoelaces in it, so, you know, I go back to the Beastie Boys, and you know, Run DMC have always been on my playlist. Beastie Boys are one of my favorites. You know, I like all the old stuff. LL Cool J. Montel Jordan, This Is How We Do It. I mean, that's on my top playlist. You know, I listen to that a lot. If you Thrift Shop, you know, everybody has to listen to Thrift Shop at least a couple of times. Macklemore, you got to like that. I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong, but I have the song on my playlist as well, too. So, you know, I just crank up some music and get into the music and start listing. That's all I always do. That's my motivation, you know. It brings back a lot of memories. Or I'll throw on some 80s hairband. I used to have hair down to the waist, so for me, I love the old music too. Heavy metal I'll listen to. Sometimes I'll even crank on classical, you know, you name it on classical, you know, Handel or anything like that. Beethoven, of course. If you haven't seen A Clockwork Orange, you know, there's Beethoven's in there as well too. So anyway, motivation for me is music. I did my thesis on music. I've written many long reports on music. I've written some detailed reports on music for college and for my master's. So I'm a music guy. I listen to music all the time. You know, I've got a satellite radio in the car. You got to get some motivation, you know, something that gets you going. Money doesn't always do it sometimes. If you've got a steady income coming in, you know, sometimes just money isn't worth the factor. It's something else you need. For me, my motivation is, you know, not having to work for somebody else, you know, being around my kids. I've got, you know, kids in school. I've got one that goes in early for the drill team. I've got another one that goes out to the university here, you know, and I'm transporting him sometimes and the whole works. So anyway, My life is now my kids and my work, and you know that's how it should be as far as I'm personally concerned. But anyway. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm not sure what we're Eastern Standard Time for the time show. Let me hop back up here. I just missed somebody. Yeah, Halloween show. I will be, as I said. I made costumes. I've made costumes for my kids for years. We've won many costume contests. You know, I did Star Wars costumes. I did full-fledged Tusken Raiders, full mask, full, you know, all the gear, leather gun belts, the whole works. We did Jawas for the kids. We did rebel troopers. You know, just all kinds of stuff. And I usually sculpt or make and sew and stitch and do all the costumes ourselves. This year we've got some semi-elaborate costumes coming out. You know, we're going to be a rock group. I'll just give that out to you there. And that you'll see me in it. I'll have full makeup on and the whole works. You know, I'll have to shave for it. It's the only time of the year I usually shave is for Halloween. For the Clockwork Orange, I shaved. Just so everything matched. You know, I had the whole costumes. We made the suspenders and, you know, the whole outfit pieces. I bought matching clothing, combat boots, the whole work. So I've got pictures in some of our other videos if you're interested. I'll probably post a couple on the Facebook group again towards Halloween. So, but I'm a big Halloween buff. That's our family, one of our favorite holidays. Obviously, Christmas isn't there for the kids' sake, but anyway, let's see here. When you sell your own art cards and your price is good, is that because you know I'm actually the artist on the postcards. We design and do our own artwork, if you're not aware. All the postcards that are original artwork that I sell and produce are actually our own artwork. I'm going to be doing some black and white ones too. You're going to see a couple videos of time-lapse. I've got some commission work to do, a couple portraits of somebody famous for somebody. So you're going to have a couple time-lapse videos here. I've got one up from a long time ago, like 3 months ago, time-lapse. But I do very detailed photorealistic black and white sketches. These won't be painted, but I do a lot of stuff like that too. So we do our own artwork for everything. I do my own graphics. I use Manga Studio, Anime Studio, and Corel Video Studio as well too. So, you know, I've got Corel Draw as well. I've got Photoshop. Photo Paint, you know, the whole works. So anyway, let's see here. Robert went to my first auction and was a bumbling fool. Please do some of your auction how-to videos. Yeah, I will have to get into that too. Just like when they're doing auctions, sometimes you'll see, like, I have a friend who got stuck on like 8-10 chairs he bought. When they're bringing out a whole bunch of items and they're identical, you got to watch out, because sometimes those the bid is for each, and you're committed to buy them all at some of these auctions. So you just got to pay attention. That's the biggest mistake I see most people make, is that they bid on something that they didn't realize they were buying 8 of something instead of just 1. Or they got auction fever and were darn determined to get something from the auction regardless of what they paid for it. Let's say you know it's only worth 10, but the auction fever gets you and you might bid it up to 20 or 30 bucks, and then you just lost all your profit margin on it. So for us, I'm very picky on when we go. If I set a price on an item, I don't go over it. I don't care what the deal is. I know what it's worth. I never spend more than I have to. I'll just wait till the next time and buy something else, you know. I pass on stuff all the time. You know, almost daily I've turned something down this whole summer. You know, I'll get phone calls and something. They'll send me a couple pictures on my phone, and I'll just be like, no, I'll pass. Or, you know, I might turn them on to somebody else, because then they'll still call me and ask me next time. So, you know, I talked about when you pick two. We do offer like a finder's fee for stuff too. A lot of people don't do that. They're cheaper. They don't want to do the money. I'm cheap on everything else, but a finder's fee gets me stuff. It gets me stuff before everybody else, because they know I'll give them cash based on what the value is of the item. So, you know, I get more calls than most people around here. I don't mind doing it. I don't have to do it for every order, but sometimes when people turn stuff my way and it's a real good deal, I definitely give them a finder's fee of some sort. I don't waste their time if I go out there. You know, I'll at least give them gas money or something for meeting me or whatever the case may be. So, but I will cover auctions as well. Michael, welcome. Brian, the Oak Brook Picker, welcome. Welcome everybody. Please hit the like button if I haven't said it. I know I'm bad on saying that. I see somebody's hit the thumbs down. You know, honestly, for those of you who hit the thumbs down, it counts the same for me, whether it's a thumbs up or thumbs down. You're welcome to hit whichever you want, but it all counts as feedback on YouTube. You don't get penalized. It doesn't hurt you. It doesn't hurt rankings at all. So, you know, be my guest. You know, hopefully everybody likes the video, but, you know, everybody doesn't like my style. Everybody doesn't like what I talk or how I talk, or, you know, that I don't, you know, get all, you know, starstruck or whatever you want to talk about it. I'm not a big flashy person. I am who I am, and, you know, you don't like it, you don't like it, but no big deal. People were crowding in like buzzards on the meat wagon. Yeah, I stopped going to some sales just because people will grab stuff from out in front of you to be first. And when you go to a sale, if it's just you and you have to hold on to the stuff to the end of the auction, people are going to grab it and take it. I've had many people have their stuff stolen during the live auction, and the auction is not going to reimburse you. You will still be required to pay for all those items, regardless of whether they were stolen and you're walking home with them or not. So just keep that in mind. You know, I've heard that before. I've seen it before in person when I was there. Let's see where we're at. Cindy, you have to put your card down quick after you bid at an auction, because they keep going back to you and you end up bidding more than you plan. Yeah, I just flip it up real quick. The second they see it, lower it back down and turn it sideways so they can't see it. You know, some of them have paddles. Some of them just had the piece of paper with your number on it. I always register early. I look at some auctions. I'll even go out to auctions and not find anything that I think I can make any money on. I won't stick around. Sometimes you can ask them to pull stuff if you only want 1 or 2 items up to the front of the auction, especially if you tell them you've got to go or you've got somewhere to be. And usually I'll just see if I can get them to do that, and then I'll bid on those items and get the heck out of there. Most auctions these days are just flooded with people that just either don't know what they're doing or, you know, are, I don't know what the deal is on some of them, but some people bid like more than you would ever sell it for online religiously. I just can't see how they're making money. You know, I guess they have auction fever or something maybe. But either way. Anthony Fazzini, do you have to create an account on PopPsych? It's PLP Shike. I'll just type it down in here for you, just so everybody can see it. You want to? Oh, never mind. We'll get it in a minute. But it's PLP Shike. You don't need an account to do it, but you only get like maybe it's 20 or so free lookups a day. So if you got a bunch of items, you can, you know, look them up over a few days' time. Other than that, you would have to pay if you want unlimited access. It's like, it's in Swiss currency or Netherlands currency. So I think it's like $18 US for every 6 months, $36 a year. You can only renew every 6 months on there too. I've actually emailed them to see if they'll give me a giveaway, like a 6-month membership that I can give away on to one of my subscribers. I haven't heard back. You know, I had it translated, you know, into their language, so hopefully it'll get through and hopefully I'll get an answer. I don't know if they have a lot of people looking or you know, answering emails. I don't know what the response time is, so I've never actually emailed them in my life. We've used them for like 10 or 12 years. But, you know, I haven't actually had any contact with them. So maybe I can get something going where we can get some free subscriptions to them given away on the channel. I know no one else has done it yet, so, you know, that's my ploy to it. So hopefully I'm trying to get some freebies I can give out here from some companies just for added bonus to those of you who watch it. And, you know, I have a lot of people who watch it religiously, the channel here. So, and again, I'm not flashy about what I do. So, you know, I'm cheap on everything. I honestly try to tell you the cheapest way, the best way to do things from my personal experience. But again, you might find another YouTuber on here who has a much better way to do some things than I do. You know, I'm not the end-all for everything. You know, I don't know everything. You know, I learn stuff every day of the week practically, or somebody, you know, shows me a new way to do something here. I talked about scanning versus photo after I saw a video from somebody else. And I'm going to probably have a video on it too and talk about that here too. For those of you who have a ton of paper, for me, we've got, you know, a couple 100,000 pieces of paper that hasn't been touched, and, you know, it's just a ton of paper. You know, I'm crammed in a real tight area here, and it's just full of stuff, and I mean full. You'd be shocked if you saw how much is in here. It's all pretty much on shelves and all, but still. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Jerry Thomas. I've got a lot of views on there. I was kind of surprised. Genealogy guy, thank you. DJT, I appreciate it. Kathy, going through old family photos and found family pictures that were postcards. Why would that be done? People would send the postcards to family members, and that was a way to share, you know, family photos. So I see family photos. I've got family photos of my own family that are in postcards from like 1905, 1910. So, you know, that's not odd at all. You could buy a kit, and the cameras, the standard Kodaks, I think even some of the brownies would take the postcards. And basically it was just a kit, so if you didn't have a camera or you didn't have the paper or the ability, they sold the postcards kits in more places probably than you can get the actual full-fledged camera outfit. So from what I understand, that was the big thing. But I know for sure they did family photos on postcards, they mailed them to their relatives and stuff. I've walked up on, you know, collections of like 20 of the same photo of family members, or of a building that a family member owned with, you know, writing on the back saying what it was. So I'm very confident that that's the case. So it's not a oddball or oddity at all from what I've personally seen. Just turn it off. There's an off button for the ringer. Thank you, Texas Haggler. Well, thank you, DJT. I'm trying to work on, you know, the production quality, of course. So we want the whole channel to be better off. Again, when we're doing the live feeds, I do want the best quality. I'm shooting it out now in 1080. I don't know if it's actually coming out that way, because the last one, it didn't show up but 720 or something like that. So, you know, I want the quality so I can show you detailed images, and we can actually show some live searching, so I can, you know, have feedback then. I know it's hard if I do a video for you to ask specific questions while it's going on, so, you know, I just have to respond and hope I'm getting the right answers for you. So if I can get the quality better on the live feed, I think it would be best for actually being able to show and to help you out with the information that would be, you know, most beneficial to you. So anyway, let me move down here. I see I'm already behind a little bit on questions. Let's see where we at. Yeah, I know content quality is the best part, but again, as I said, I just want the whole works to be up together. Kathy, Patreon is like I wouldn't say it's a subscription service, but it's a way to help support like me or any channel. Most bigger channels have a Patreon account. YouTube, you know, the YouTube apocalypse where they cut off, you know, revenue. A lot of channels are making half of what they would. And, you know, this takes a lot of time to do the videos, and it's just a way to help us at least compensate us for the time. I've been on YouTube now for almost 6 months. We've got going on 2,700 subscribers with, you know, just around 200,000 or over views. I get like 1,500 views a day or more. But I haven't seen a dime from it. So all this time, you know, it's still if, you know, what's going to happen. You know, I see the totals in my YouTube account, but there's always some new thing why you're not going to get this or why that's not going to happen. And there's a lot of hoops you have to jump through just to see anything from YouTube these days. So, you know, it's a way, Patreon's a way to help support us so we can afford to deviate some time from our normal activities, what we do behind us, and direct them towards, you know, showing things and talking about things. So it's a separate site you would go to when you basically pledge to pay or offer so much a month, like $1, $10, $20, whatever the case may be. And I'll have other things that you can't see here on YouTube on that. There'll be some insider videos. I shot the first one. It's going to go into something that, you know, will surprise a lot of people. I don't want to just put it out there. This is something that's way above and beyond what anybody's going to tell you. It's paper related. And I've got 5 or 6 ready to go. I've got one shot and 5 or 6 good ones, and I'm going to try and put a couple up a month there on Patreon as well. As you have a schedule, I'm going to give out, you know, original artwork on some areas, and then signed autographed postcards and things like that too of our artwork and things. So there'll be a lot of other features on there. I want to make it worth people's while, so you're getting a good bonus for doing something like that. You also get call outs to the channel and things like that too, if that's what you want. But enough on Patreon. You can also Google Patreon. You'll see they have videos and things on what it is and how it works. Yeah, thanks, John. That is exactly right. Yeah, DJT. The YouTube paid courses, these are people who, you know, try to market a course to you from their YouTube channel. I don't have any courses. I can promise you I'm not going to do any courses. I've had, I think 8 now, people ask for mentorships if I would do something like that. I would feel bad if you weren't successful and you paid for me to do something. So I'm not really interested in doing that at this point. You know, I put out the videos, and I can't guarantee anybody's going to get anything out of anything that I do or anybody else does. Anybody telling you otherwise is just not telling you the truth. You know, just because I can find something here that's worth money at an antique store or antique mall doesn't mean you're going to have that same, you know, experience. And again, I have an anchor store, so I pay 5 cents or less for a listing. Some people may pay 25 or 35 cents for that listing. So your fees are going to add up when you get up to a bunch of items up. Especially if you're just starting out and you have 50 up and you're having to pay for over and above 50. You know, watch the video I have on store prices, and you can decide when you hit a certain amount what it's going to be cheapest for. I think a premium store is like $59.99. I could be off on that. I don't have it on the tip of my head. I start my day at 5:30 in the morning when I get up to get my son ready for the drill practice. And, you know, it's now 8 o'clock my time, so we're on 13 hours. This is my typical day. You know, 5:30 Monday through Friday, I'm up every day. I do the kids, and then I list or photograph or, you know, by price stuff. You know, that's pretty much my days. Some days I'm lucky enough where I can do a pick before, when I take my one son to school, before I get my other son up for college and help him out with whatever he needs. So, you know, I'm a family man. Everything that I do is, you know, family oriented. You know, I feel guilty of all the years I spent working for somebody else that I wasn't here working 60, 70 hours for people. So for me, that is what I strive on. You know, we're very tight-knit family. We do everything together, you know, vacation still, you know, our kids slept in the same bed with us, not by necessity, until they were, you know, like 5. I mean, at one point, you know, I know that sounds crazy, but my family is closer than most anybody I know. You know, so not to brag or not trying to say I'm better than anybody else, but, you know, that's just the way we did it. My father died when I was younger. Most of my family died when I was younger, so I'm a big family person, and you know, that's my goal, is to be around them more than I can. I missed a lot of time with my family, so anyway. Yeah, thank you, Kathy. DJT, religious prayer cards. It depends on how old they are. If they're Victorian era, I sell those quite often. It just depends on what they are. If you type in, you can even go to my store and type in religious card or religious Victorian. You're going to see probably hundreds of them in my store. Now, I have like 3 different people that buy from me, and I've talked about people who buy from me throughout the month and do not pay to the end of the month. That's one of the folks that does this. She only buys religious cards. She makes scripture cards for her church and, you know, her kids program that she does. She donates some to a non-profit organization as well too. So, you know, I help people out like that. I'm not calling it charity at all, because, you know, she's a nice person. We talk. You know, she's up at 5 in the morning sometimes getting, you know, 8 kids ready, I think she said. So, you know, her hands are way full compared to mine even. But, you know, religious cards can sell. It just depends on how old they are, what type they are. If they're made out of celluloid, they're worth some good money. You can type in celluloid Victorian, and you're going to see some high dollar items there. Celluloid's like an old piece of plastic, but any religious bookmark that's made out of celluloid's worth like 30 bucks or better. I've sold some for 100 and some odd bucks. Religious cards, you know, if it's like a Marcus Ward or a De La Rue, look up De La Rue if you don't know what that is, or even like a Raphael Tuck. If it's a religious prayer card and it says Raphael Tuck, chances are it's worth 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks, you know, on its own. There's not a ton of religious cards that are worth a ton of money, but most of the ones in the Victorian era are worth 4 to, say, 10 bucks minimum for most of them. And if they're graphical, meaning they've got a lot of bright, colorful boxes and shaped off areas, those are usually worth 10, 15 bucks on average. So, and they can be prayer cards, they can be Bible quote cards, they can be like God bless you, or, you know, God works in mysterious ways, or something like that. So, you know, and they all seem to sell. There's newer ones though. I wouldn't mess with anything, say, post 1900-ish, 1910 at the very latest, unless it is celluloid. So, you know, we do sell a lot of religious material. I bought some more. Well, I don't, it's a little far away, but I bought some more crucifixes just the other day. I bought some more Christmas items. What else did I get? Comic books. Geez, I just got a ton of paper items. I know I've showed you some of them, but I did another pick. So religious items sell overall. Christmas time is the best time to sell religious stuff. The second best time is Easter. I sell more religious-based items for Christmas than any other time of the year. A lot of people forget about that and just think Santa Claus, but the religious aspect of it sells. Seraphim angels, angel statuary, angel trade cards, angel postcards, Jesus, you know, the whole works, even manger scene sells. So it doesn't have to be Santa Claus. So, you know, I don't care what religion it is. You know, I don't discuss religion itself, but I'm happy to sell or buy any of the religious pieces that are worth decent money. Statuary, crucifixes sell mostly during Easter. So it's a good seller across the board. Let's go move down a little bit here. Welcome, John. Love 80s, graduated 86. I graduated a little after that, but I'm into the 80s. I remember when the Beastie Boys came out. You know, I know every word to every song on License to Ill. I mean, by heart. I never forgot them since the day when they came out. You know, but I can sing, you know, well, I don't do karaoke or anything, but, you know, I know all the words to a lot of songs from the 80s. I was a hair band person, you know, hair down to the waist and, you know, ripped up jeans and leather jackets and stuff. I had friends that were in bands that performed, and they still got, you know, they have records and stuff out. But, you know, I was, you know, a rocker, I guess you'd say. I did a lot of bad things after my father died, so, you know, I'm not proud of some of what we did, but, you know, it makes you stronger, and you learn from it, and you move on from your mistakes. I talked about a gentleman who turned my whole life around to business-wise was Lou. I've got a video on that, too, so I think it's called Horrific something in the title. If you're interested in knowing where I've got, you know, my experience and my knowledge from, it's from one specific person. It's a real person. He still talks to me. We still talk to each other. It's my only boss that I still talk to, honestly. But, you know, he wasn't just a money grubber. He just didn't want his salary. He wanted you to succeed, you know, because he succeeded if you succeeded. So, and I just wished everybody had somebody like that. But let me see here. Jennifer Garfield, that's a huge motivation not to work for someone else. That's all that the motivation I need. Yeah, for some people, that's a great motivation. For me, it is because, you know, I don't want my family not to see me. I worked through 9/11. I worked through Hurricane Katrina, and I was working like 80 hours plus a week. I never saw my family for weeks on end, months on end. In some of the positions, I was a regional. I handled 3 states, Washington, Virginia, and Maryland. And when I handled that, I never saw my family. We pretty much, I was on the road all the time. We had a newborn, and it was just a terrible experience for my wife. I feel bad about it, but, you know, we moved on from it. You know, we're very close because of what's happened. And, you know, most people think we're kind of odd. We don't fit into the normal stream of people. But, you know, believe it or not, I'm not a real big people person. You know, this is a little different here. I'd rather have a small group than a large group. I'm not great in public anymore. You know, I function perfectly fine. Don't get me wrong. I don't want you to sound like I'm a freak or anything, but, you know, I've had my days, and, you know, we used to hang out and go to concerts and all that. So, you know, I'm just a mellow person and more interested in family than anything else these days. So, not to get personal and get away from the questions, but, you know, this is who I am. So, you know, I just be honest with you. Let me think here. Let's move on to the next one here. Iconic Belfeld. I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong. I took German for a little while, for 4 years in high school, but, you know, when you don't use it, it gets pretty terrible. You know, I know some phrases. Meinst du das oder sagst du das nur so, and things like that. Or du hast eine Vogel in dem Kopf, which means you have a cuckoo bird in your head, but, you know, anyway, off on that. Do you think you so much love the content already? Learned a lot. My question would be, would you do a store critique for my eBay account that sells antiques and vintage toys on ebay.com? I just started with that. Yeah, I've taken some names for a critique. I've kind of got washed out with some of the other things going on here, unfortunately. Again, my business is my first thing. My family is tied for, well, my family is obviously number one, but, you know, between my family and my business, that's been taking up a little more of my time. So I haven't had as much time to do some critiques and things like that. But I'd like to do one still this month, and then one next month, and keep going back to one a month. I had done two 2 months in a row, and I just kind of got sidetracked and lost track of that. So anyway, I will do some critiques. I'm not going to just take a name. We're going to randomly pick some names. I think that's fairest. I don't want to be making anybody favorites or anything like that, because I don't really know anybody on personally. There's a few folks that I've talked to extensively on Facebook and in some chats. These are mostly folks who were on when I first started, when I had more time. So I've gotten to know some subscribers fairly well, who has kids and things like that, and who's married, and where you live and stuff. So there's half a dozen or so that I talk to fairly regularly on the side. But my time's semi-limited again, as I said. So anyway. I'll do a call out in another video, because I want to be honest with the folks that who want it and just pick one. But I'll do a specific call out on that. I'll probably just shoot up a separate video, just a couple minutes. You can make a little comment on your store name below there, and we'll go from there. I'll promise you I'll try to get one out here and do this in the next day or so we can get a critique by, say, next Wednesday before the live show. So I'll promise you I'll do that. So let's see here. Let's move on. Mad Catter, thanks for all you do. Hear your advice. Thank you. I appreciate the good comments. Again, if you haven't left thumbs up, please leave thumbs up for me here. It does help to show us up higher on the search results. Helen, let's see here. Helen Masterson, I have started listing, and on a few of the items I turned off best offer on listing. eBay keeps changing those. Can I have buy it now and no best offer on some items only? Yes, you can. I don't know how it's turned on. I had somebody told me that the other day, and it was on an auction with them. They had best offer. I don't know how it would be getting turned on. I have not had that, but again, all of my listings already have best offer on it. And occasionally when it's a lower item, I don't take best offer. So I probably have maybe 20 or 30 that do not have best offer on it. Buy it now. I haven't had any issues with the few that I have had. I don't have my tablet here, but I'll make a note of that, and we'll see next time I talk to eBay if I can get an answer if that's a known glitch. I did have a real monstrous glitch the other day. I read the instructions for that new one-click where they list your information on up to 6 other international sites for free till the end of December 31st. Didn't click, didn't accept it, and the next thing I know, the next day, I've got 11,000 listings on other sites that I didn't authorize, or anything. eBay says I did it, but there's no way I did it. The company that actually is responsible for doing this doesn't have any record of me actually subscribing. eBay also said that it wouldn't show the option if I was subscribed, but it still shows the option. eBay's statement on that also says if you're in the global shipping program for the items, they will not show up on the other sites. That was not true either, because the items that in these 11,000 extra listings were actually mostly all options that I had in the global shipping. And then I had items that were actually sold on the U.S. site that were showing up on international sites that, again, the item was already sold. So anyway, I showed you in the video on the automatic returns. You can actually click off third parties, and that instantly stops all that from happening. I still had to go back in and delete 11,000 listings, which took me about 45 minutes. I just moved on from it. I'm not going to hate them. I went back. I voiced my opinion and them not being honest on, the errors when they happen. They first said it was my fault, and after I said that, look, you've got stuff that even violates what you said would happen in there, so you're still telling me it's my fault. I did get an apology, but that's about all I got out of it. So, I just move on. There's other opportunities. There's other things going on. I should have probably showed it to you in a video, but I didn't think about it. I was just so frustrated that it happened that, I had to deal with it again. But again, if you sign up for something, or if something accidentally gets logged into your account from a third party, you can instantly kill it by hitting a radio button in the third party approval. Just deny them access to it, and it takes care of it instantly. No more issues since that happened for me. I do recommend everybody going to your site preferences and checking out every one of those so you know what's there. You could have something clicked like the auto returns. If you have it clicked, they automatically gave it to everybody, so it's automatically there. So if you don't go back in and click it, you will be stuck taking these automatically. So I refused the automatic returns, and then I clicked RMA authorization, where it forces eBay to tell me. So again, take a look at those. Those are your two biggest ones right now, because the return policies they're trying to roll out where it's automatic returns for most things. So you need to be ahead of the game and have those clipped right now before eBay does anything else, because the winter policy changes and the winter updates, from what I understand, are going to have a slow rollout for automatic returns. It may not force you to do them, but it's going to force that option in there where you'd have to unclick it. So just keep that in mind. Let me see here. Let's move down and get some more questions. Let me see here. Again, as I said, Helen, I will ask eBay next time I talk to them. I do call them a couple times a week. Welcome, Eric. Yeah, I don't have the link right here handy, Eric, but if you actually go into my my playlist, you can actually search just on my channel, and you can just type in the word photos, and I think it should come up. I've got a lighting one. And as I said, I'm going to have a new one here for certain paper items that you're able to scan. It's a duplex scanner. Popeye's Postcards, I'll call him out here. I don't usually call out people, but he had a scanner in there. I have had 11 different scanners in my time. I've got 3 sitting up on a shelf here. None of them have been able to do what this one scanner that I saw on Popeye's channel. So I will address it here on this channel too. So a thumbs up to him. So, you know, I do say there is another way. I'm really surprised because all these years I've messed with scanners, and people said scanners this and scanners that, and I've even tried, and I even have a duplex scanner here besides the version that I actually found that does work. They all jammed up. They all did stuff. They wouldn't do postcards. The thickness was an issue. You know, they would constantly jam up, and this is not the case for at least postcards. And it does do a lot. It does, you know, a full-size page I can scan, so you can actually scan some of the print ads and things like that too, depending on the size, of course. So anyway, I'm going to show you some other options for that too, but I've got several videos in the how-to on how I set up, how I take photos, and you know, the whole works. So I've got lights that we actually made ourselves. You know, I went to the hardware store, I got some, you know, corrugated plastic, and we made tabletop. I have the boom lights too with the stands. They take up a lot of space, so you know, we're in a tight area. I try to use as little of that stuff in tripods and stands as I can. So, you know, and most people, I started selling on eBay in an apartment years back when they first started, and space was always an issue. So we took pictures on a table, and you know, we ate on the same table and things like that. So that's why I'm in the smalls to begin with. So anyway, let me see. Let's go down here. The sound is choppy. Is anybody else having choppy sound? If you can let me know. Helen, I do merch by Amazon. I've just got into it, so I have the basic amount of shirt designs that you can have up. Yes, I do sell original art as well. Not so much anymore. I used to do portraits when I first started, and I've done maybe 600-700 portraits in my day. You know, for family portraits and things like that. So anyway, I'm going to give away a piece of original artwork, one that I use for one of the postcards. So for Halloween, somebody's going to get a choice out of 3. You'll get a piece of original artwork, hand illustrated by me. Appreciate it, everybody. Welcome, Jaded Gypsy. Here we go. Thank you, Studio 1231. I appreciate that. Yeah, I do have Super Chat enabled. Again, you're not required to do anything like that. I do always appreciate it when it does. Let's see here. YouTube's hopping around on me, so I don't know if it's a YouTube issue. What is a good source to... Brad Axelrod, what is a good source to research pricing on newspaper archive books from the 80s? You know, if you're talking about the 1980s or 1880s, that would be a big difference, because I do run into, you know, 19th century newspaper archives. The newer ones aren't huge movers. There's not a lot unless it has a specific issue of the newspaper that has something worthwhile in it. Most newer newspapers I don't mess with. I usually only get ones that have important issues. Like if Ronald Reagan, you know, when he got shot, I might put that in there. Or when the Berlin Wall, you might get 15-20 bucks for it. Mostly what I'm into are pre-1950s newspapers, and they sell the best. You know, even if you go back to Revolutionary War, I do get those in occasionally too, and those vary by content. If you get them in a book and they're old ones from like 1880s, sometimes I'll actually debind them and take the binding apart and separate them out of the book and sell them individually. I always break up books. I have no problem with scrapping books, even if the book was in good condition, because you're going to get more money. Sometimes you can double or triple your money out of tearing apart a book, so just keep that in mind. Yes, please hit the like button if you haven't. Let's see here. Let's see here. Tara Lee, real over flashy any day. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Kids deals and more. I don't know. Back in the day, they used real family photos on postcards, and I threw them all away. I thought they were random people. That is one thing I regret in my life. Yeah, I've heard people say that too, that they didn't realize it. Postcards, you could just buy a kit at a 5 and dime store. They were really cheap, and it came with, you know, cards that you could actually develop at your house, or you could take it in and have a studio develop and print massive quantities of the same one. Or you could actually get a photograph that you took with a normal camera and take it into a studio. They would take another picture of that photo on a postcard back and then mass produce postcards for you. That was another option. I've seen all the ads. I've recommended some books. There's one in the postcards. They actually discuss some of the processes and how they started off and stuff like that. So that's good for history. So I think it's a research material video I had just a couple days ago that you'd want to look at. Some of those books can be had at the library, so you don't have to buy them necessarily. So you'll see some of the information on the history and how these things came about. So I always study the history on the items that I have. So most everything that I sell, I know a lot of the history about it too. I wouldn't say I do that because it's necessary to sell the items, but I like to know the items. And it goes into researching. I research everything about the items that I can, including its history, where they came from, you know, what the era is, why they made them, you know, what I expect to find in those categories too. Welcome, Penny. 9 kids, wow, yeah. Congratulations there. Welcome, Jersey Picker. John Jones. Sold my first $150 record. Thanks to you, I paid $1 in estate sale, Lucy Ann Polk. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Again, I've told people that records sell very well. You just have to research them. Most records are $1. I don't care what anybody says. I can go across the board to, even Savers has them for $1 around here. Even Goodwill has them for $1. Most garage sales, estate sales, shows, you can get them for $1. 45, 50 cents or less sometimes, or $1 too. And postcards are the same way, but you got to hunt and peck for them. Let me see here. Sold my first record. I've got that one there. Okay, thank you. Totally understand. Sold my first 78 Hawaiian music. Valerie, Hawaiian music isn't a big seller, so I'm surprised. It depends on who it is, though. There are some, I think it's the Hialeah March, I think is the one. Most of the ones that say Waikiki or anything like that, I don't mess with, but there are some good Hawaiian ones, so don't get me wrong. There's a Hawaiian label, and it actually says Territory of Hawaii, and I believe just that label, it doesn't even matter what's on the label, it's like $150. So anything on that label. I've only seen a couple of them, but when they show up, you know you're getting a couple $100 usually. They constantly never take ownership right away. It's your fault and you're lucky. Yeah, I let them have it. I was very polite and very professional if you're talking about the comment to eBay. You know, I even said last time you denied that there was an issue, and then it turned out later on that you pretty much weren't accurate or honest with what you stated. I got a big letter. I have it in my email feed. I may show you, you know, in a video just what their comments were, just so you can see. Last time they gave us, I don't remember how many free listings, but, you know, I pretty much used them. I was surprised that they only did them for a week, and some people weren't able to use them because they didn't have enough items up. So, but if you didn't have enough items up, you weren't affected as much, so you wouldn't have had as many listings that you would have incurred issues with. So I guess I can see it in that way to some extent. Yeah, Jersey Pickens. I was surprised with the scanner, only because, as I said, I've literally have 11 scanners we've went through trying to find a scanner that would work better than what we have to save time. And I have tried the duplex scanners. I've tried them. Well, I thought I tried them all, but you can only buy so many scanners, and you just kind of give up on it. It's not super quick compared to taking photos with my stand that we use, but it's much more convenient. I can just pop it in and I'm done. And I did figure out you can save them to an SD card. You can auto set them so they'll flip and rotate correctly. You can pick the DPI, which I usually do 600, so you can enlarge them. But yeah, I was quite surprised. It doesn't do everything, and you know, maybe every 20th postcard will get stuck. And more so probably every 10 trade cards, and I kind of figured out which ones go through and which ones don't. So I will put a video up on that. And again, Popeye's Postcards, he's the one who pointed that out, so thank him, I could say. Sound is good here. Yeah, it may just be your reception from your local IP. Not choppy. Yes, choppy sound. Sounds good out here. And yeah, I guess it's just depending on where you're at. Maybe it's your bandwidth possibly too. Yeah, I've had a couple people tell me that on the best offer getting switched. I have not heard of that until just yesterday when somebody brought it up in a comment on my Facebook group. Is there any value in quitclaim deeds from the 1800s? Yes, there would be. Flippin' particles. It just depends on them. Some of them have postage stamps. Well, they would be revenue stamps, actually. Some of those can bring 20 or 30 bucks. Sometimes the signature on some of those is someone well known, so I always look at those. Deeds usually sell well. A lot of like revenue back of the book collectors will buy deeds and things like that, as long as they have revenue stamps on them in signatures and counter signatures. Let me see here. Let's see, DJT, 1800s Family Bible with missing pages. It's hard to say on some of those. A lot of those older Bibles, if they're falling apart, you may get lucky and sell some of the artwork in there, but most of the time I wouldn't even mess with a damaged Bible. You know, I sell whole Bibles from that era too, and even the whole Bible is not worth a lot of money, and they're not technically a trade card or a religious card or anything, so you could maybe put them up in a lot and maybe get 20 or 30 bucks maybe, depending on how nice they are. If they're illuminated style looking pages where the main first letter of the text is huge with elaborate scroll work and things around it, if they look illuminated, they will sell. But those are like the most of what I see selling on single pages. But you would want to put illuminated in there as well too. Let me see here. Let's see, Helen, not sure if it works. Just started eBay 3 weeks at the top of your selling page on the right. You listing, I believe it says change to classic view. Classic view is actually how the page used to look. If you're curious, how the old setup prior to them switching over to the new change. Yeah, so it sounds like most people having good sound. It sounds like it's just an issue with maybe your local. So I can't talk on that thing because I can't see it from here. Yeah, you got to watch out too. Sometimes when you list it, they automatically set the radio button to actually say best offer on it. So you sometimes might actually have to unclick it just to get it to remove. And what I would recommend doing when you're first starting out, once you list it, instead of going on to the next listing, instead of hitting sell cylinder, open up that listing that you just finished listing in another tab, and then go in there and make sure everything is the way you want it before you go on. So when you go back, you can actually make sure that the radio button's clicked correctly and it's all removed from your listing. I would report the issue to eBay if you did have it happen quite often. Sometimes it actually is you know, something that you could have done. No, I'm not blaming you for it at all. Sometimes we hit, you know, bold, add bold to the title and things like that by accident, or I'll miss a photo gallery radio button and it'll bill me for you know, photo gallery. If it's a feature that you get billed for and it's extra, if you catch it within the first 48 hours, you can call eBay and they will refund you as a credit at the end of the month for the listings or any issues that have arisen from you making a mistake like that. We've all done it. I've hit the wrong button or missed a button and was billed, you know, $2 for bold or something like that. So it's just a matter of making a phone call to eBay to get those things fixed. At least that's my view on that. I've had them all fixed and, you know, gotten credit on them too. Let's see if we got any more questions. Are the postcard shows any good to go to, like the large shows that have auctions? I've been to one or two, and I didn't see anything that I would have messed with there personally. Just because they're dealers, and most of the dealers that go to the shows, they're bigger ones. They have the money to be able to travel, so they're doing a big business on postcards. So they know what they're worth, and they get top dollar for them. You might get lucky with, you know, one of the auctions there, but I wouldn't mess with any of the tables. You know, I'm not saying you won't find anything there, but, you know, the cheap cards are going to be few and far between. Other postcard dealers actually, for most of these shows, will swap and trade and buy from each other the night before or even the morning before the show opens. So, you know, other dealers might have snagged all the good cards and then marked them up even on their tables from ones they bought from somebody else. And now this happens at flea markets too, so it's not just at, you know, that specific type of place. So anyway. But again, we're getting close to the end here, so if anybody has any more questions, any few more questions, let me see if I didn't miss anybody here. Yeah, as I said, the scanner that I saw and that we did get is awesome, and I will be doing one on that. I do have a note on the auction detail on it switching over. I'm sure eBay's not going to admit that it happened if it is happening. Just be cautious on that, because I've had a couple people, you know, have issues, and it, you know, it turned out they didn't understand how things work. And again, I'm not trying to say that you don't understand how it works, but, you know, there are other options, and I've messed up myself by clicking the wrong button or not realizing that there was a button. Just like the auto returns, you can turn those off. You can, you know, force it to do things. You can turn off, you know, third-party apps and things like that too. So, you know, I'll try and maybe do another video on some of the other options that you can do and what to look out for. Bottom line rule of thumb is always look at, before you hit post or list the item, look at the bottom and make sure that the total fee is correct. So this comes back into knowing how much you should pay for each listing over and above your guaranteed free listing. So I always know if it doesn't say 5 cents or if it's not free at the bottom of the line, depending on what time of the month it is, we figure out why. You know, I still miss them occasionally, but, you know, this goes into being diligent and making sure you know what you're doing and paying attention to your eBay listings. I would say that I know in eBay pretty much inside and out, you know, the entire app, their entire site, the whole works. There's still probably some oddball things and some of the, like, reviews and things like that that I haven't messed with just because I don't do it. We're in one of the feedback things where eBay sends us an invites to, I can't think of the name of it, but it's like a feedback group that eBay has, and we get an email, and then we'll do like a survey for them, and then they'll take our feedback. It doesn't offer you, you know, any benefits or anything like that. It just helps hopefully improve the site. Whether they use the information or not, I couldn't tell you. But I'm very honest. If I'm not happy with something, I'll rate it to the bottom of the line. You know, and then they ask for an explanation. I don't know if anybody else has gotten these before either, but we've had quite a few of them, and I always respond to them, even if it takes 5 or 10 minutes. You know, we applied for some of the other opportunities that they have, you know, the associates where, you know, you can advertise. So some of the links I have, obviously, we make a few cents on. I haven't seen any money from that either, so, you know, I'm not banking on anything. But, you know, a few cents here, a few cents there helps, you know, negate some of the time that I'm expending into the videos that we do and all. But I'm going to wrap it up now because we're right at the 8:30 mark here. Again, I'm going to spend some time before the next show so we get the bit rate right, we get the quality right, we get the condition of the lighting correct. Again, this is the first night I'm using this Brio here. It's supposed to be top of the line. I don't have any external lights other than what's on in here, so that may be the issue. I may have to just put one little light in here to help brighten it up so the skin tones look correct and things like that. But overall, hopefully it looked okay for everybody today. Hopefully you had a good show. Again, if you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button for me. Again, I see there's another negative, which is fine. Again, for those of you who don't know, it doesn't do anything to the channel, so you're welcome to do it either way. But if you don't like the show, I would recommend not watching it. So anyway, glad to have everybody here. Hopefully you're having a good week, and we will let it go at that.